Na realidade, todo mundo sabe o que vai acontecer. É mais um cara que tá falando e vai dobrar na minha frente.
In reality, everyone knows what's going to happen. Is another dude that's talking that's going to fold in front of me.
I don't know. I think that I'm a better fighter right now, more mature, more experience. You're going to see, for sure, a better version about
Charles Oliveira just dropped a ruthless warning ahead of UFC 317, making it crystal clear he's coming to break Ilia Topuria under the bright lights. However, despite the years and accolades, Charles Oliveira remains as driven as ever, declaring that his hunger for victory hasn't faded with time. With his eyes fixed firmly on legacy and history, Oliveira enters his clash against Ilia Topuria fully prepared and locked in. For the former champion, this isn't just another fight, it's a chance to cement his place among the sport's greats.
Da mesma forma como sempre. Nada mudou. Ainda continuo com sede, ainda continuo faminto, ainda continuo querendo fazer história. Essa é uma grande luta. Para minha história, para o meu legado, eu tô pronto para isso.
The same way I've always done it. A guy that continues to be thirsty, guy who's hungry for the win. This is for my legacy. This is for my history. I'm ready for this fight.
A evolução, a experiência, você crescer cada vez mais. É isso que eu tô fazendo, voltando para casa e evoluindo cada dia que passa. É assim que tá sendo as minhas lutas, não tô perdendo meu estilo que é agressivo, andando para frente, mas eu tô um pouco mais calculista.
Yeah, evolution, experience. You're always looking to grow. That's what I do when I go back home. It's not without losing my style, continue to be aggressive, but just thinking twice about it.
Acknowledging the tough task ahead, Oliveira acknowledged the challenge ahead, noting Topuria's youth and undefeated record. However, he cast doubt on whether the rising contender truly craves the title with the same intensity. For Oliveira, this bout is about proving that desire, experience, and purpose outweigh momentum alone.
Sim, ele é um cara que tá vindo com sede, é um cara que tá vindo invicto, mas será que ele tem mais fome do que eu? Será que ele quer isso mais do que eu?
Yeah, he's of course younger, comes in undefeated, but does he want it more than I do? Does he have more hunger and more thirst than I have?
Com certeza algo gigante sobre legado, sobre sonhos, sobre o quanto você tá vivo e faminto para isso. É isso que eu tô, faminto e vivo para isso. Eu posso se tornar campeão, eu vou se tornar campeão de novo. Se o UFC me colocou aqui é porque ele sabe. Quando vem nesses problemas, eles colocam eu. Porque ele sabe que eu posso calar eles.
It's enormous, is what I said. It's about legacy. It's about dreams and promises. That's what I work for. It's about the hunger and the thirst. They know I can do this.
In addition, Oliveira didn't hold back in his assessment of Topuria, labeling him as all talk outside the cage. Confident in his abilities, Oliveira predicted that once the octagon door closes, Topuria will crumble under the pressure.
Na realidade, todo mundo sabe o que vai acontecer. É mais um cara que tá falando e vai dobrar na minha frente.
In reality, everyone knows what's going to happen. Is another dude that's talking that's going to fold in front of me.
Meanwhile, Alexander Volkanovski offered a detailed breakdown of Ilia Topuria's fighting style, pointing out his relentless movement and ability to close the distance with calculated aggression. He highlighted Topuria's strong foundational base, noting how the contender keeps his feet planted and maintains balance to generate explosive power. According to Volkanovski, it's Topuria's precise footwork and positional discipline that allow him to deliver those heavy fight-ending shots. However, Volkanovski stressed that this matchup presents a different kind of challenge for Ilia Topuria, one he hasn't faced before. The size, height, and relentless aggression on the other side of the cage demand a more strategic approach. According to Volkanovski, charging forward won't cut it this time. Instead, he believes Topuria will need to adjust by moving off center, finding his angles, and picking the right moments to strike, rather than constantly pressing forward. On the other side, Ilia Topuria remained unfazed ahead, insisting that this bout feels no different than any of his previous outings. Calm and composed, he expects Oliveira to bring forward pressure, but remains confident that those attempts will be shut down. In Topuria's eyes, the former champion won't be able to impose his game plan when the cage door closes.
I don't know what to tell you. It feels exactly the same, to be honest.
And get into a fight.
Remember, this is what he's gonna try to do. That's not something he's gonna do. He's gonna try to do it. He's gonna try to win. Of course, not at all. That's his job. He has to be confident. No. He's gonna try to work forward. He's not gonna find a way to do it, and I'm gonna make him play my game, as I said.
Doubling down, Topuria heads into the fight brimming with confidence, claiming he's operating at the peak of his abilities. According to him, fans can expect to witness new levels of his game, layers of skill and dominance that haven't been revealed in his previous performances.
More power, I don't know. I think that I'm a better fighter right now, more mature, more experience. You are gonna see, for sure, a better version of myself.
Big of a focus.
For sure, this is one of the best training camps that I ever had. I have been able to enjoy the whole process, like I said before. Like, I'm very happy with everything that I lived in this training camp, how it has been, and felt very happy during the whole process.
Moreover, Charles addressed the build-up to the fight by acknowledging that every fighter promotes bouts in their own way. He noted that no matter the approach, criticism is inevitable, as people are rarely satisfied with how a fight is sold. Oliveira made it clear that he is not one to judge and has no issue with whatever Ilia Topuria chooses to say in the lead-up to their clash.
To each their own. People sell fights in different ways, and they have different approaches, not only to talking but also to fighting. And I know that when depending on the way that you sell a fight or the things that you say, people are going to criticize you. So they're never happy with it. And I'll say, I'm not one to criticize either, because at the end of the day, he can say the things that he wants to. He can sell the fight the way he wants to. I'm making that money too, so he's helping me sell the fight. I'm not one to criticize, and I do think that's the way that they do it. I don't sell fights that way. That's not the way I operate. They're to each their own. People are going to sell fights differently. They're going to say different things. It is not my style, but people have their own ways about it.
Echoing this belief, Chael Sonnen shared his enthusiasm for the matchup between Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira, calling it a compelling clash of styles. He pointed out that Topuria never lacks confidence, bringing a fearless mindset into every fight, which adds another layer of intrigue to the showdown.
True, so now we've got to take this #1 ranking, we got to take that argument, and we got to decide what's bigger. Being ranked #1 or being undefeated? And you can't just do world champion. You can't, because Charles is a world champion. So we got to scratch him, whether it's former or present. They're both former world champions. So you got to throw world champion out. And now you got to just look at #1 contender versus undefeated. What do you do? Who should get the nod? F it. Put them in there together. I love it. I absolutely love it, but Ilia Topuria is never short on confidence. Ilia Topuria comes on, I'm going to knock this guy out. Yeah, I get it. 11 guys are fighting this weekend.
In addition, Dan Hardy broke down the stylistic contrast heading into the matchup, pointing out Oliveira's high-risk approach, often diving into range and leaving openings. Against a calculated finisher like Topuria, Hardy believes those mistakes could prove costly. With the stakes higher than ever, he expects Topuria to bring a sharp, measured aggression, capitalizing on every opportunity with precision and control.
But at the same time, Topuria's got a very He's got a very focused approach in a lot of his fights. He can get a little bit reckless, but we've seen a lot of that recklessness kind of work its way out of his career in his more recent run. And that's, I feel, where he gets the advantage over Charles Oliveira, because Oliveira is a risk taker. He'll jump into range and walk straight onto a punch, and that's the kind of thing where you just pay against Topuria because he's too calculated. And this is a big move for him, which means that he's going to be even more calculated. He's going to be thinking about this approach over and over again. And the only downside will be is if he underestimated Charles Oliveira, but I don't think he's not that person.
Echoing the sentiments, Dustin Poirier broke down what makes Ilia Topuria's boxing so effective, pointing to the sharpness of his movement, the precision in his punches, and his overall technical execution. According to Poirier, it is Topuria's positioning and attention to detail that make him such a dangerous threat inside the cage.
Good work. The crispness of his the shots he throws out, his technique, his positioning. I mean, a lot of stuff, man. He's really, really good and really dangerous. And he was putting people away at 145. To see him going up to 55, and he's gonna have more ass in those punches. He's a very dangerous guy. Like I said when I was working for ESPN during the Max fight, like he's everything he said he was coming into that fight, and he proved it. It's tough to say. You know, it depends how his speed comes over to 55 because he's good in the pocket. But his technique, without a doubt, is going to transfer over to 155. And I think he's putting away guys with power, but with skill, with more skill. Of course, the guy can punch. He's going to have more weight to punch with now, but it's technique and timing that's really hitting guys at the right time, at the right angle, that are putting people down, man.
Backing that up, the MMA guru weighed in with his prediction, backing Ilia Topuria to come out on top. However, he acknowledged that Topuria may appear undersized next to Oliveira and could face physical pressure throughout the fight. For him, this bout will be the true test of whether Topuria's power can translate effectively in the lightweight division.
Ilia Topuria is who I'm going to take to win this fight. I am terrified that he will look like an absolute dwarf out there next to Charles Oliveira and be completely pushed around like nobody's business. That is a fear that I have. And I mentioned that to Demetrius Johnson when I was speaking to him about this matchup. I was saying, what if Ilia Topuria's power just fits in at lightweight? And it's not this shock thing. Because if you've looked at things historically, McGregor was a featherweight who cut a lot of weight, who had a lot of crazy power that was unexplainable in his hands. He still had power at lightweight, but it was just like, it fit in. It fit into the lightweight division. Oliveira gets hurt by everyone. He gets cracked and hurt by everyone. And people are going to say, oh, well, that's not, you know, you can't say that because, you know, he's won fights where he's been hurt.
In addition, Jeremy Stephens expressed strong admiration for Ilia after reviewing his performances, identifying him as one of the most promising stars in the sport. He sees Topuria as the future of MMA, not just because of his skill set, but also due to the overwhelming support he receives from fans in both Spain and Georgia. According to Stephens, the international backing Topuria commands is a rare and powerful advantage that sets him apart from many of his peers.
Look at Topuria, dude. Like, let's take it up a notch in today's day and age. Like, I'd be watching this kid's like highlights, the way he boxes, the way he's doing it in there. That's what's coming to you guys, this new game. You know, the years of you put down the pound of flesh, now like 20 years, 30 years later. Imagine when we're up in our 40s, 50s, like what the game's going to be like. It's going to be like that. Like, he's got a whole country behind him. He's got the top of the line equipment, like the power. I mean, dude, and he's taking the risk. He's training hard. I mean, that's next level shit, and that's what's coming to the game.
Furthermore, Tom Aspinall chimed in with his prediction, expressing doubt that the fight will make it past the halfway mark. Given the explosive power and relentless pace both fighters bring to the table, Aspinall sees an early finish as not just a possibility, but the most likely outcome.
I'm not going to get your predictions, boys, but does it go 25 minutes?
No. Nope. Not a chance.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if it went past
10?
If it went past 2.5 rounds, I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All action. Guaranteed fight of the night. Should be an absolute cracker on it.
Moreover, Kai Kara France expressed deep respect for Charles Oliveira, calling him the embodiment of a true people's champion, reflecting on Oliveira's journey from early setbacks to a remarkable stretch of victories and title defenses. Kai highlighted the resilience and determination that define his career. For him, Oliveira's story captures the essence of what makes MMA so compelling, the power to rise above adversity and inspire fans around the world.
Fuck, I love Charles. He's the man. I've met him a few times, and he's just like the people's champ. His story and like his journey that he's had in the UFC, it's just like, that's what I love about the sport. You can't count anyone out. And even, you know, his rough start in the UFC or where he was at, and then to go on this massive win streak, win the belt, defend it, like, how can you not love him? And like, just meeting him in person, he's just such a relatable person. Like, he's just a fan favorite. Like, I've done a few guest fighters with him, a guest appearance with him on Fight Week, and yeah, just really liked him. Well, like, gravitated towards him, just not just a fighter, but just as a normal guy.
In addition, the Wade concept breakdown of what makes Ilia Topuria such a dangerous force inside the octagon. Beyond his knockout power and sharp ability to close distance, it is Topuria's command of tempo that stands out, knowing when to explode and when to remain composed. Paired with elite level fundamentals rarely seen in the division, Topuria brings a complete and calculated threat that makes him a nightmare for any opponent.
He fights exactly how you would dream up a guy at his size with his muscle mass, and his experience wrestling and boxing would fight. And that's one of the reasons I think he is the most dangerous, because he has dynamite in his hands, because he knows how to get to range, because he understands how to switch tempo. He's got boxing fundamentals that no one else has. He has a wrestling and grappling background that keeps him safe in dangerous places where Charles Oliveira may look to go should he start losing the stand-up game. There are things he has to watch out for. Again, the spontaneity of Charles Oliveira, not necessarily in what he does that's so different, but when he'll just decide to throw caution to the wind and throw a flying knee or whatever else, he has to be able to get to range safely, which means avoiding the teep kicks, avoiding the oblique kicks and the head kicks, everything that Charles does with that first line of defense, because I don't think I've ever seen boxing fundamentals, boxing muscle memory, boxing talent at this weight class in the UFC ever.
Adding further weight to Topuria's hype, Luke Thomas expressed confidence in Ilia's chances. He praised the significance of this fight for Topuria's move to lightweight, highlighting the excitement surrounding what could lie ahead for the division if Ilia emerges victorious.
Topuria versus Oliveira fight, I love this fight. I love this fight. I love this fight. Topuria going up at 55, I think I would have loved to see him stick around at 45. The weight cut was a problem. We all know the story. Here he's at 55. We already know his power carries. He seems driven. We just saw a guy in his 20s win the welterweight title. It'd be really nice to see somebody in their 20s win the lightweight title. Like, that would be a lot of fun. Oliveira is an absolute guaranteed war horse that you know will bring the fight to Topuria. I suspect Topuria will win. I had not seen the odds. I do believe that is probably coming, but I love this fight, and I love what it means for Topuria to be at lightweight. Again, it's one of those things where I wish, now he had some epic fights on his way out the door at 45. I just wish he would have stuck around longer, but again, same kind of thing, the possibility of what's ahead.
Daniel Cormier added to the discussion by highlighting Ilia Topuria's growing star power, suggesting he has the potential to become one of the UFC's marquee names. Cormier emphasized that few fighters can draw massive crowds in their home country, but Topuria is one of them. In his view, a UFC event headlined by Topuria in Spain would be an instant sellout, showcasing the level of excitement and support he commands.
Because I feel, especially watching the way people are responding and reacting to him, he has that ability to ascend to one of the biggest stars in the UFC. That's true. Very few people can bring a fight to a country and sell it out. Ilia is one of those guys. If they were to go to Spain, they could sell out the Bernabeu, which is crazy. That's a huge stadium where Real Madrid plays. I feel confident that if he was to fight there, he could sell that out. I think he's that type of star. And I think the reaction and reception that he's gotten since moving up has pointed to that. And honestly, I believe it's rooted in respect, because so many athletes, myself included, when you go up, you keep the belt. You want that security. You want that blanket of comfort to say, if it goes sideways, I still got my other belt. He said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm just going up. I'm going to go and fight at 155. I'm staying there.
As the clock ticks down to UFC 317, the intensity surrounding Charles Oliveira versus Ilia Topuria continues to escalate. With legends, analysts, and fans weighing in, the stakes couldn't be higher. When the cage door closes, only one will rise while the world watches. Breath held, waiting to see who breaks, and who breaks through. If you're hyped for this fight, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more breakdowns, predictions, and post-fight analysis. Drop your pick in the comments section below, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update as we count down to this epic battle.